we're strengths-based, so we're not going to play someone who can't do a job. I don't like the word disability. I like the word ability, and we like to focus on what someone can't do. They've probably been told their whole lives all the things they can't do. So I want to focus on the things and focus on what their strengths are. Everyone has strengths, so we can actually pivot a disability into a strength.
Welcome to Unlocking Commerce and Business. I'm Connie Davis. Like a lighthouse cutting through fog, this marketplace of voices illuminates where commerce systems break down and what's already working to repair them. We go deep into communities, exploring where pain hides behind financial systems, uncovering extraction patterns in relationships, blocks in money movement, and barriers creating economic instability for vulnerable populations. From survivors of economic abuse to system innovators, these conversations don't just diagnose, they point toward trauma-informed, human-centered solutions. Essential listening for collaborators, partners, funders, and change makers building regenerative alternatives. Welcome to the era of restorative commerce. Now let's get into today's conversation. All right. Thanks for tuning back in, everyone. Today is an incredible conversation that I have been looking forward to having all week with my guests, David Cardas and Charlene Dodge. They are here with us to talk a little bit about the conversation around what we call as a community disability, disabled persons. What I want to do is just welcome you guys to the show and give you an opportunity to just introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your background, and why you got into this work. So David, let's start with you and tell us a little bit about the organization that you started there at Hope Services.
Sure. So I'm David Collins. I'm the Executive Director of Operations at Hope Services. And so we were actually founded by Cindy Bray. She's our founder and CEO. And she started this 23 years ago, really because of her daughter, Danica. She has a daughter living with disabilities. And she's finishing high school, and she was just saying, what's next? A lot of the services at that time ended for people living with disabilities. And she said, my daughter still has more to offer the world, and just didn't know where to turn. So she kind of fell into this business just looking for, like a lot of people do, services for their own child. And that's kind of where Hope Services was born. She was looking for services, went to a meeting, and walked out with a job. She actually went with a meeting of other parents, and they were starting this new program with vocational rehab. And they kind of looked around the room. They're like, well, the only thing we need to get going is someone to do this. And they looked at her, and she said, you know what? I think I can do this. And so for a couple of years, she was working for a different provider. And people kept telling her she could do it on her own. And she went home and kind of told her husband, and she said, no, I can't do this. He's like, no, you really can. And that's kind of where Hope Services was born, out of her garage and working from home. And for many years, it was just her doing it by herself. And from there, we've grown to an organization that serves 10 counties in West Central Florida. We have a brick and mortar here in Land O'Lakes now, where we've added vocational training, we should get into later as well. That's kind of the really cool organic story of Hope Services. It just started with Cindy and Danica just looking for services for her, and grown into last year we served almost 700 people and placed them in employment. So came from just one person looking for one job to serving a large number of people, and even getting into some other populations as well.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that background with us. And Charlene, how about you? How did you get into this work?
Well, honestly, I got into it because for many years, I was a copywriter, and a little thing called ChatGPT came along, and I kind of did a pivot, and I've discovered Hope. I'm like, this is awesome. And, with my background in marketing and whatnot, it fit in perfectly. And I discovered, and also I come from a background, my mom had MS, and she would have loved to be, with an organization like this. And if I knew about this back then, I feel like, she would have had many years of work, because she loved to work. She's like me. So this would have just been an amazing thing. So, with that kind of being close to my heart. And then also I had a couple of struggles of my own. And like I said, I discovered Hope, and it was like the perfect fit. And I absolutely love what I do. I'm a community liaison, and I'm all around about meeting so many people and spreading the word. So I absolutely love what I do, and it's for a wonderful cause. So
That's incredible. And that's so incredible. And I know we met at a networking event, Charlene. And, part of the things that I do here is I try to get out in communities and explore stories. There's so many stories out in the community, and there's so many individuals that I think, what this show is about unlocking the exchange of value between people. And I call it commerce. A lot of people go, what the heck is commerce? What does commerce actually have to do with podcasting? And my whole point for podcasting and using our voices is right now we're exchanging value with one another. And that is what I'm trying to help people remember is let's go back to restoring human to human value exchange instead of this transactional nature that we kind of are in, where it's like I hand you money and, you buy something for me and that's commerce. Commerce is so much more than that. So if I were to ask you to think about this population, David, that you guys serve. You mentioned 700 individuals that you've been able to help them reactivate the way that they exchange their value through employment. What does that journey look like for someone that goes through the programs? Because you have so many different programs that you offer through your services. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of what that experience or that journey looks like for someone that finds you?
Sure. So usually the front door in is either through our on the job training program or through one of our vocational certifications. So we have 4 certifications and one in culinary arts, construction, retail, and hospitality. So either they're landing looking for some additional education, or they're coming through looking for on the job training. And that's a really neat program where we actually pay them. We get reimbursed by the state, but we pay them to go work at a job. So we approach businesses and we can bring them an employee that's not on their payroll, but gets to work alongside everybody else. We ask them to be treated just like anybody else that's employed there. So if they're late, then they need to be written up for being late and the same expectations. But it's really neat because everyone wins in this situation. The employer gets, technically a free employee. Our client gets experience on the job, and they come with a job coach as well. So they partner with one of our job coaches, so they will check in on them. They'll go with them on the first day and make sure they're settled and trained. So it's a really neat, and a lot of times it builds the work environment for the employer as well because they're giving back. Their employees are seeing that they can help someone or give someone a chance. And we're strengths-based, so we're not going to play someone who can't do a job. I don't like the word disability. I like the word ability, and we like to focus on what someone can't do. They've probably been told their whole lives all the things they can't do. So I want to focus on the things and focus on what their strengths are. Everyone has strengths. So we can actually pivot a disability into a strength. I actually had a conversation with a father who said, well, I don't think my son can ever work because he's got OCD. And I said, well, what's his compulsion? He's like, oh, well, he hates when things are a mess and he's always picking things up and he's always putting things away. I'm like, well, that sounds like a job. There's a lot of jobs that involve cleaning and then the light bulb just went off in the father's head. And he's like, oh, you know what? Maybe that is a job. So is taking that, what someone sees as a disability and flipping it into that being their ability or their strength.
Absolutely. And, humans as a whole, my little dog is making an appearance here. Humans as a whole actually are wired for this negatively because it's trying to keep us in survival, right? So if we think about if we have deficiencies and we're not whole, right? There's an ability. We have all of these senses. We have all of these emotions. Those are all signals to help us understand our environment. And I believe that, when we get into these framings of a disability, that is subjective, right? Because we have, as individuals ourselves, strengths, and strengths don't always fit the right role in certain areas. So I love that you have this perspective where you were immediately able to reframe that type of a perspective with the parent or, a guardian of someone that, has been probably hearing that all of their life. And So let's talk a little bit more about how do you go into a not like an employer and actually build that up? And is there an assessment that you do for certain types of jobs to make sure that that's a good environment for your community, or does the employers come to you and say, "Hey, we've got these kinds of jobs"? Like, what does that process look like for an employer who might be looking for extra help
Mhm.
and have that, compassionate heart, servant heart leader in the community around you? How do they find out more and get involved in the program?
Sure. So we always love if people come to us looking for it, and I always just, but the employers just say, write down exactly what you need, so then we can fit. Just going back to that strength base, find someone who has those strengths that fit your needs. So we're always looking for people to come to us, but typically we're going to them because we start with our clients. Some providers do things differently, but we always start with the clients and ask them what they want to do and focus on that. I want to get them whatever that dream job is. If we can make it happen, I want them to do that. So they'll say, I want to work with animals. I only have a 5 mile radius with my transportation. So that's kind of where we start is with the client. And then we'll go out in that 5 mile radius. And we don't have a partnership. That's what our job coach's role is, to go out in the community and find those partners. And sometimes we're welcome with open arms. Sometimes people will shut the door on their face. And and a lot of it's just an education, because there is that stigma behind the word disability. I know I was actually, before I started here, I was a regular at a restaurant. And so when I started here, they're like, oh, well, talking about what I was doing. And they said, oh, well, we would love to help you guys out, but we're such a small business. We don't think we can fit someone with a wheelchair in here. And I said, I never said anything about a wheelchair. I just said we work with people with disabilities, but that was their automatic picture of, when I said disabilities, they pictured someone in a wheelchair. And I was like, well, disabilities is such a broad term. It could be someone dealing with ADHD or depression. They're not in a wheelchair. They're able to walk back here. So a lot of the times it's us going out in the community and making that educational piece with the employers. And the other big thing is, because we're saying we're going to bring you a free employee, we're so skeptical these days. When someone says it's free, a lot of times they want to know, well, where's the catch? And I really talking around, there's no catch. It's really just this amazing program where we can bring you someone, an employee that we're paying for a certain amount of time. So it's getting over a couple of those barriers, but a lot more often than not, we see people that are really willing to give someone a chance. And after they try it the first time, I would say 95% of the people come back and say, we want more, we want to participate more, because they see that we're bringing them quality, skilled people. And then they kind of forget about that disability word and really do start seeing that people have abilities.
Yeah, so we can overcome our implicit bias. And what I love is that you're actually allowing them to kind of come into their own sense of awareness, like, I had that bias, I made an assumption. And I think it's a testament to this lack of awareness that in the systems that kind of support these underserved communities, and I speak a lot about this on this show, there is this undercurrent, there's this trend of systemic underinvestment, and the system has a responsibility to invest in all people that live in its community in some fashion or another. So I love that you're bringing that out. You've kind of cleared out some barriers that keep people from stepping closer to individuals. And you're doing some matchmaking. And I think that's really cool. It's matchmaking to help people share their value. What is one of the biggest aha moments that you think an employer had that started with maybe a bias and really turned it around to go, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that this could help me scale my business? Because that's an area that we believe that, if I'm struggling with, hiring people in off of the street in the typical, recruiting process, how does that change when they work with an organization like yours?
And that's one of my favorite things is when we get that phone call of them saying, well, can you send me a couple more, just like the person you sent me? Because there's that initial skepticism of, because the word disability, what are they going to be able to do? And when they go in there and they see the person we sent them, because we match so well, our job coaches are so talented at that we send them a rock star. And actually often we get the call saying, Hey, the person you sent me is outworking my my regular employees that I've hired and that I'm paying. And so that's a really one of those moments that's like heartwarming to me, knowing that, like, yes, we're sending you quality people. So we just ask, like, please spread the word to your friends. Let other businesses know the same thing, that just because they're coming in with some sort of hardship doesn't mean they can't be your rock star person. So it's really cool when we get that feedback. And we do quite often. Once in a while, things may not be the best match. Just like with any employee, we all have hired people and it didn't work out. But typically, much more often than not, they end up really working out great. And then we have someone who's a lifer with us, and one of those businesses that is a repeat. Every time they have an opening, we're one of their first calls saying, "Hey, do you have someone who's a good fit?" And I think the other thing is to be honest. So if we don't have someone who matches what their needs are at the time, to be honest and say, no, there's other great people out there. Hopefully you can find them, but we just don't have someone who's a match for you, and not just put a person in a job. We're not like that. We want to put the right person in the right job. I think that's the important distinction.
It absolutely is. And you just proved that the etymology behind the word disability, where it says it doesn't mean that it's lacking capacity. The word um, disability actually is the state of not being able to hold or possess. And you just basically proved that the word disability is not serving this community, that they do have the capacity to serve in a role that fits them, that fits their human design, their emotional design, and their ability to exchange their value, which is the definition of commerce. And so I love that you're unlocking that opportunity for so many people. I mean, 700, that's quite a number. And when you think about the amount of time and the effort to recruit, and here it is, 700 individuals have been placed. How much time did we save them? How much frustration and agitation and emotional turmoil? And then the same thing on the employer side. So I really commend you guys for the work that you're doing there at your organization. Let's talk a little bit about some of the trends in the workplace today. I hear a lot of hybrid workforce. What does that mean for your community? Is there such a thing that a hybrid workforce would actually work for, or a work environment for them in a hybrid role? Is that type of thing compatible with the way that you kind of build out your program?
That those are great opportunities. Unfortunately, I think there's not a lot of that, and the problem with the work from home positions is they're so competitive. So a lot of our clients do hear about that, and because of the transportation challenges with a lot of the people we work with, not having a robust public transportation here is very difficult for people who aren't able to drive, or have never had a license, and a lot of our clients face that. So that can really be a challenge. So those are ideal jobs for us, because that would remove one of those major barriers with being transportation. Unfortunately, they're also very competitive jobs. So that's been a little bit of a challenge for us, because our clients come in and say, I want to work from home job. And it's again, a little bit of the education piece. I'm like, yes, those are great. However, when it's a local job, you're only competing within the couple people that can drive to that. When it's a work from home job, you're truly competing technically against the world. Anyone, we're living anywhere, can apply for those jobs, even in different time zones. So it's some education on that, because I think during COVID, those jobs became very easy, and it's I think we've kind of focused more back on, a lot of companies are coming back in person again. So, but if there are those opportunities, I would love to talk and partner with other employers who offer that, because that is truly a great opportunity for our folks who really struggle with the transportation piece. And just in general, I would love to see some sort of different answer to address the transportation for our folks, with either public transportation or more opportunities for them, for sure.
Yeah, and I think I mean, what I heard was an invitation to, let's find those hybrid roles that would align with, a community that will have the cognitive ability, will have the ability to, work on a keyboard, talk on the phone, maybe do other things. Talk to me a little bit about the types of skill sets that you really identify in this community, that are their strengths, then how that correlates to a hybrid environment. Because I think that a lot of the individuals that listen to the show are going to be in banking and finance. They might be in like some of the blockchain Web3 communities, AI even. Are there things that, organizations that are really focused on the future of roles and what, the workforce looks like that you would say really align well?
Sure. And so we have all sorts of different populations. And one that people don't often think about with the community of people living with disabilities is, a lot of people think of everyone who's born with them, but there's people who get disabled along the way. So we have people who have master's degrees, who I've talked to a gentleman who has a PhD, but went through some sort of injury. I went through one myself. I'm legally blind in my left eye. I wasn't born that way and went through it in adulthood. So luckily I'm able to drive. So, but, some of our folks aren't able to drive for whatever reason, but still have that cognitive ability. They still have that skills. They have that education behind them. They just need the opportunity. They need someone to take a chance on them and give them that opportunity, to allow them to either work from home or have a remote position where they maybe only have to come in once in a while. So yeah, that's great conversations to have with other businesses, where they can tap in. I hear a lot of people saying it's really hard to find talented folks. Well, we have talented folks. They just need to be given the chance, and maybe just an exception of being able to work from home if they have a typical workforce that comes in person, because they can't necessarily get there all the time. But just rethinking how to work with, how to find talent in different places. Because there really is, a large group of us as we get older. We go through some health struggles, and we're not able to get around, but still mentally and able to work. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
that's a great way to tap that population, that a lot of people don't think that we work with. You think of those autistic folks that were born or
Non-expressive or things like that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about so you mentioned arts and culinary. And the reason I want to touch on that is because there's a lot of organizations that are starting to do non-clinical programs or non-clinical arts or culinary programs for interesting work environments where they want to bring in some of those kind of more trendy things and experiences after work or lunch type of experiences for their employees, or they'll bring an on-site chef. Are those the types of employers that could also open up some opportunities for your community too, if they're looking at something innovative in the workplace as they bring everybody back into the office? Have you seen anything creative like that in Tampa Bay?
Now, I would love to partner with more places like that. That's a great idea. Actually, I love that idea. We actually were just talking about bringing in some of our students. We do it we have staff meetings here. So we actually were just talking about our next staff meeting, having some of our culinary students come back and doing just that, doing something that's, kind of a give back to our staff, but giving them the opportunity to show their skills too, because we're certifying them with ServSafe so they can be food handlers. And in our class, they also work side by side with our executive chefs. So, to be able to highlight their skills. And then, I think that's a great perk that some businesses can give, is just some of those fun days to, if people are bummed about having to come back to work because they were so used to work from home, giving them some incentives that make it a little bit more fun. I've always been a believer in it's okay to have a little bit of fun at work, because we deal with some heavy situations and just to blow off steam at work sometimes. I love that concept, and would love if anyone's in that trying to be creative and try to bring things to their staff. I would love to talk to someone like that, because then that could be an on-the-job training where they're not necessarily having to pay for that person to come in and do that for their staff, through our program. So that would be a great place to collaborate with us for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I love these types of creative ideas because I attended I guess it was last year, I went to a conversation discussion here in downtown St. Pete at USF, and we talked about placemaking, and placemaking being this, how do we bring the community into a place of, gathering, so how do we make it safe for everyone to do that and inclusive as possible, so that, the person that has that challenge of transportation or has a economic stability type of challenge can still participate. And that's the area of Web3 and blockchain and these communities that are building online and things like the metaverse we hear, right? Or we hear of Decentraland, and we hear of these fun kind of video game like experiences, but they're very very conducive for organizations like yours with a community that maybe, it's too overstimulating to get out into the, physical community, or it has, transportation barriers. But how do we find ways for them to continue to participate and experience those really cool experiences just in a way that's safer and more aligned with them? And so those are where I love a lot of the work that's happening in the blockchain for good communities. Some of the projects that are out there in the decentralized world of blockchain and cryptocurrencies, kind of really cool, right? There's some really cool community building experiences that technology, like, these types of podcast platforms, there's so much technology out there that we can create some really cool experiences. So those are where some of those ideas come from, David. But yeah, thank you for exploring that, because I do see examples of employers that if they wanted to do an internship program, are internships and apprenticeships something else that could work with your program?
So it's what called a lot of different things. We call it on-the-job training, but it can all be all of that.
All of the
I
above.
think big difference with us is that they're paid. So we also talk about volunteers. So organizations who are looking for volunteers, we just say you can look at our person as being a volunteer. However, they're getting paid, so they're actually more likely to show up than your typical volunteers who they might come, they might not. But our person is motivated because they're also getting paid for the time they're there. And there's a job coach that comes alongside them. So if they're not showing up, there's going to be someone who's coming behind them and saying, where have you been?
Yeah.
So that's any of those different opportunities. However, they're called on the other side. For us, it's all on the job training. It's a paid on the job training. So anyone who's looking for an apprentice or any of those things, and the goal is to turn that into them having a job offer. That's the idea. So
That's
it's the
fantastic.
apprenticeship that they're looking to build. That'd be a great opportunity too. And talking about technology too, that was a good segue into one of our programs. We have a program called FAST. And we actually have a whole library of assistive technology to help people with disabilities. And that's been a really neat area for expansion with technology and AI, where we're able to open new doors for people with disabilities through that technology. And we have it's a lending library that we have. It's completely free service. So anyone dealing, and they don't have to have any sort of diagnosis, they can come here and check things out. Kind of a try it before you buy it. You try it for 30 days. I know I've been playing with our meta glasses, and so that's a really neat, where you're talking about some of the blockchain and some of the technology-based things, where those two worlds are coming together, for the visually impaired, or even for some of our folks with disabilities, because the glasses have the two cameras on them. So for someone who's visually impaired, they can actually go live. There's a volunteer organization that can actually see through the cameras and can guide someone around. But then also the AI that's in those glasses. I know when I was going through my vision issues, there was a point where I was going to the grocery store. I couldn't even see what was on the can in front of me. So you can just say, hey, Meta, with those glasses, and ask it to read, and it'll tell you exactly what's in front of you and what the label says. So that just opens new doors for all different kinds of disabilities. And so that's a really neat place where we're coming together with that technology. We also have a robot arm that is actually able to feed someone now. So someone who's lost the ability to feed themselves, we actually have a robot arm that's operated with just a click of a button that can bring the food up to someone. So just life-changing things.
That's incredible.
Technology's growing so quickly. It's neat to
Yeah.
watch.
So that tells me that there's a whole new way of thinking about employment. Whereas instead of saying this person's disabled and separating them from the opportunity to really get into a workplace and serve with their strengths and skill sets, is with a little bit of augmentation, they can actually become almost the same parallel of a person that would walk in the street, that you would not have that visual implicit bias. That's super cool.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
that's
even
super
especially
cool.
visually impaired, there's a lot of technology with being able to use computers now, because you can talk to them. Even for typing, there's a lot of speak to talk programs. So it's opened a lot of doors for people who didn't have those opportunities anymore, still cognitively able to do the job, but not physically somehow. So we have things that can augment that now to make them just as able as anybody else.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So, let's talk a little bit more about this when I pulled some of the numbers on Florida, it really looks like there's this massive pool of willing and capable contributors on the sidelines. And and before we got on the show, we were talking a little bit about the money side of things. And, with my background in financial services, I want to talk about some of the, let's just call them again, just kind of stigmas around, maybe on your community side of the banking industry and what they need for money movement and where they have limitations. Because I've also heard that there's, limitations in how much money that they can actually hold and still be on some of the disabled programs that really bring them all of the services you're talking about. Where is there a conflict there? Can you talk a little bit about that on the money side?
Sure. So, one big area is just educational piece. Again, going back to education, for whatever reason, people with disabilities aren't seen as someone who can be in the, someone who can be serviced by the banking industry. So a lot of times, when they land on us and we're trying to set up direct deposit for their first on the job training opportunity, they don't even have a bank account. So I think going backwards to somewhere where either in school or somewhere along the lines where that is missing, for our people living with disabilities is they need bank accounts just like the rest of us. More and more, there's much less cash and we're a much more digital society. So, to think of, a majority of our clients come to us without even having any idea about banking, having a banking account. So I think that first step is that education piece, and the access to it too. So I think that's one of the gaps that's missing there is for sure is that in the banking industry or in school. I don't know where that would happen, but I know we do a lot of education here with our classes and our clients that come through. But there's just more of that and probably more openness for the banks to see people with disabilities as clients and viable clients as well. But then on the services side too, if they are on disability, there is a certain limit, or if they make too much, you definitely have to be careful about that. Luckily with us, there's an assessment called the WIPA. So we have someone who's gone through training, with that very difficult class to get certified. So you can actually do an assessment through us or through other providers that'll give you that number. So then we are very cautious with someone who is on receiving any sort of benefits that we get them employed enough, but we don't go over that threshold because then, they may lose their insurance or whatever other programs are supporting them. So we make sure we're very cautious about that because we don't ever want anyone losing that. So there is a number, there's an assessment that goes along with that. So that's another thing people can come to us for is that WIPA assessment, as we have someone who's a certified person on staff.
Okay. Well, Charlene, I want to switch to some questions for you because I know you have such a.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Beautiful relationship there with Hope Services to kind of bridge into the community. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on and how you do your outreach and what you're looking for and what kind of events have you got going on. So I'm super excited to hear about what you got going on.
Sure. Well, as you heard, I'm always out and about in the community, doing a lot of going to chamber events, going to a lot of networking events, just meeting people, spreading the words. And one thing that I did want to mention is one of our big events that we have happening, which is Dance Your Dream. And what it is, it's a prom-style event for individuals with disabilities. It's ages 14 and up. And it is an amazing event, a lot of fun. Chick-fil-A is one of our sponsors. They'll be there. We have the red carpet that we roll out. The cows are there dancing with the people. This is our 5th year in a row that we're having this event. And this year has a little bit of a theme to it. It's a circus theme. And it's a lot of fun. We even have a couple of people dressing up, including Dave himself. So
I've been
That's really
talking
exciting.
to dressing up as a ringmaster. We always announce everyone as they come in. So apparently I've been voluntold that I'm dressing as the ringmaster and emceeing everyone coming in. We actually set up a red carpet. So it's really neat. All the guests that come in get announced like just like they're a celebrity. Like we have paparazzi there with pictures. So it's a really, really fun event for the community.
yeah,
That's
this year
really
we'll
exciting.
have, oh, sorry. Yeah, we'll have some stilt walkers, and we're still looking for a juggler. So if anybody knows how to juggle, send them our way. So
So we're calling out for the juggling. So if there's anybody in the community that's listening, we need a juggler on April 18th. Awesome. Anything else that you want the community to understand about what you guys might need?
sure. Well, for this event, I mean, we're doing this, of course, so people can have fun, and they have a community, they have a space where they can go to enjoy, and but along that, it does come, this does help our facility because we have a training facility actually at the very facility that we're speaking from right now. And we train for construction, for hospitality, for retail, and we have our culinary program too. So to help support the programs here, we are asking for sponsorships. So we do, I don't know if you can see that, but it's all on our website. And if if anybody cares to donate, it's super helpful for us. We'll spread the word, that you have donated. We have different packages, so we're definitely open to that. In addition, in conjunction to this, if some of the ladies need some dresses, we have an event coming up next week, which is the Gowns for Girls event. We have a very generous donor that's donating a whole, I think it's about 2,000 dresses that she's bringing in. And it's at Wesley Chapel District Park, which is the same location the dance is at too. So, and this is from 10 to 2 next weekend on Saturday. So, come see us if you want to sign up for this dance and you need a dress. It's free, absolutely free. And she has some gorgeous dresses. So.
That's incredible. What kind of corporate donors would you love to contact you? Like what kind of like if they have inventory or specific types of supplies, is there something that you guys would really look for in a corporate donor?
Well, I mean, we have absolutely, we're happy to support anyone that wants to support us. So, I mean, of course, people that, companies that would work with us and work with our people. So in other words, like Chick-fil-A, we have a lot of people that work at Chick-fil-A and they're one of our sponsors. So, I mean, we are happy with anybody. And so, yes, we also are taking baskets and whatnot too, because we do raffle off baskets. So we'll take, in-kind donations in that sense as well, if you're local. And yeah, I mean, anybody that wants to help, we would be very grateful for it. So
That's excellent. I feel like there's an incredible exchange of value at the community and the individual level. And I really think that it's exciting opportunities for working together, right? To keep people moving and thriving in the communities that they live and work in. So is there any other closing thoughts, David, that you would have for where your organization is headed through the rest of 2026 that you'd want to share with the community about how we kind of get these individuals up and out, not making them locked up in all of the, kind of just being stuck at home? How do we help them contribute the most?
Sure. So I think the biggest piece is our businesses out there to want to partner with us if they have a position they're looking to hire, if there's a position they've always wanted to hire, and they're really interested in this on-the-job training opportunity. Just someone who's willing to give someone a chance. And I think they'll be very positively surprised of the opportunity to meet someone and see them grow and flourish in their on-the-job training, and hopefully keep them. A lot of times they'll feel like, oh, we can't get rid of them after on-the-job training, and they end up hiring the person. So definitely companies that are looking to want to partner or support us in any way. I'll mention the website too. I don't know if we've said the website yet, but hopegetsjobs.org. They can find out all of our contact information about the dance. It's all on our website. Our Facebook too, if you want to see some warm and fuzzy stories every time we get someone in on-the-job training or a job, as long as they're okay with being posted, we usually do a story and a picture with them in front of the business. So we do try to cross-promote as much as we can for those businesses who are partnering with us. And again, giving someone an opportunity. So try to give as many shout-outs as possible. So definitely follow our Facebook and our Instagram pages as well. In our website for all the latest information about us and what's going on. And again, if you want, there's so much negativity, I feel like, on Facebook. So if you want a good story and if you want to smile, go through and read some of our posts about the young men and women and adults that we work with that are either starting their first opportunity or getting back into the workforce, and some of the partnerships that we have with that.
I think it's incredible. I think there's nothing more empowering than transformation and watching someone go through that. So I'm really, really excited to check out the stories myself. It's always uplifting, you're right, to kind of offset all of the negativity that's out there. So thank you for bringing that up. We'll make sure we'll put all of that in the show notes as well. And I'm just really excited that we have this conversation today, because I think that you revealed some things that can help break down some of the stigmas, can help ensure that commerce flows where it can flow, and that individuals of all, abilities and capacities get to exchange their value. So thanks again for being on the show with me, guys.
Sure. Thank you for having us. I think one of the biggest things is getting the word out there. There's so many great services and service providers out there, and a lot of times we're just a hidden gem because people don't know about us. Luckily, we have someone like Charlene in our organization who gets the word out there, but there's still people I run into every day that are right around the corner from us that never knew you guys existed. So thank you for getting the word out there about all of the causes that you support and that you're getting the word out there. More of this needs to happen, and more of this positivity too. I think, again, there's so much negativity out there, and in the middle of doom scrolling, to hear a couple positive stories and see a podcast like this, I think is very important.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that, David. Certainly part of the mission. There's some really incredible conversations that are happening here. This show is for change makers and thought leaders and city planners and municipal planners, because we can and we must collaborate, really, to truly repurpose all of the amazing things that we've already built in our communities. And now it's about really connecting humans, because we've got so much technology and so much convenience that there's a lot that we can do with all of that we've already created. So thanks again for being here. All right, so we're going to wrap up. Thank you all for listening in. We'll have some information in the show notes. And again, just check out Hope Services. There's so much opportunity to truly unlock the capacity in so many of these individuals in these communities, like David's. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Unlocking Commerce and Business. If this conversation resonated, here's what you can do. Subscribe for weekly conversations with survivors, innovators, and change makers, building regenerative alternatives to extractive commerce. Share this episode with collaborators, partners, funders, and change makers in your network. The people ready for restorative commerce need to hear these voices. Drop a comment below. Tell us what patterns you're recognizing or what solutions you're building. We read every one. Commerce is everywhere, and healing extraction patterns inside our communities creates regenerative commerce outside. Like a lighthouse, we're here, exploring and cutting through fog, pointing toward what works. Welcome to the era of restorative commerce. Until next time, explore courageously, build sovereignly. You are the source and store of value. This is Connie Davis signing off. Thank you for being here.